I don't understand why they are not getting what I'm showing them in the book. They should just get it. And she said, well, we have a training coming up, and it's CGI, and let's get you involved in that. I'm Ramona Moore. I'm from Beebe, Arkansas. So I went willingly because my passion is helping my kids not to struggle. Definition of CGI, it's helping teachers learn how to guide their students' instruction through questioning and problem types. I get into my first kindergarten classroom, and literacy was where I wanted to help kids because with my dyslexia and those things, I struggled as a reader. I struggled as a writer growing up, and I wanted to help kids not to have to struggle as I did. I moved out of the kindergarten classroom during that journey and ended up in self-contained special education with kids with severe disabilities. Everybody tries to say that kids with disabilities can't do. That's what I was told all my life. You're never going to be good enough. You can't do this. You're just going to live on welfare. It's okay. That wasn't the case. Just because I had a different learning style didn't mean I couldn't learn. And so I took these kids, and my boss at the time, an amazing principal, but she came in my room because I was telling her all these great things with these kids with intellectual disabilities were doing. And she's like, I gotta come see this for myself because they were doing things the kids in the general education classroom were not doing. And back when I started this journey, she was like, oh, a few teachers went one year and they said they do it in their classroom all the time. No, we don't. Kids with severe disabilities are very big into, they stay in the egocentristic stage. If it's not about them, if it doesn't pertain to them, they just can't connect. It's just too hard for them sometimes. And so I made every story problem every day that I planned out for the next day. Even though it was the same problem, I changed it for each individual kid in my classroom. And so it had their name and things they liked or they wanted to do or something like that. And so she came in one day and she just gave one of my students a problem. Raw numbers, no story behind it. And what really sold me on how important that story was the little girl turned around and kept staring at my boss. And I realized she was crying. And my boss turned around and mouthed to me, what did I do? I shrugged my shoulders, went to the little girl, and I said, sweetheart, what's wrong? And she said, she didn't give me a story about me. I don't know what I need to do. It's not about me. And so when I put it into context for her, she sat and solved that problem for my boss. And she was like, I need to get my other teachers back in it. My biggest thing to teachers is go through the training. It's important for you to have that knowledge, and it doesn't just help in math. The thing is because it's helping us guide our instruction for math, yes, but it spills over into my reading lesson, to my writing lesson, to my science lesson, to my social studies, because you learn questioning, and it spills over because you start doing those questions in your reading and writing. It helped me to become a better person speaking to other teachers, and it helped me start believing in myself and that I can help these kids. And to have parents come back to me, one of the young men in my classroom, his mom came to his annual review that you have with children with an individual education plan, an IEP is what we call them. And he had, when he was in kindergarten, he got a brain tumor. He had cancer. So fast forward, he's in 7th grade. My boss had come to me and said, Ramona, I know you do elementary. Would you be willing to take him on? And I'm like, sure, I'll take any kid on who's wanting to learn. Well, he's in 7th grade by this time. Teachers had just put him in a corner and made him color because they didn't believe, because he had a traumatic brain injury, that he could learn anything. Well, he was all about tractors. He loved art. I found out everything about this child. And I got him in December in his annual review. It was in May. And I had to relate it to the farm because he's like, why do I need math? I'm going to be working on the farm. Why do I need reading? I've got the farm. And I had to go, well, when you write those contracts for people buying your soybeans or buying your whatever you're growing, you need to be able to read it. And you don't only have to read it, you also have to be able to do the mathematics to make sure you're charging them enough or they're paying you enough to cover your expenses. And so when I could relate it back to what he loved, it pushed this child to push himself to read and to be able to do his math. So when I met with his mom and May, I always asked the parents, how do you feel your child's year went? Do you feel like what goals we set are successful for them? And she broke down crying. And I thought, oh man, I have messed up something. And she said, Miss Moore, for the first time, my son, he had a 4-year-old little sister at that time. She said, for the first time, my son is able to read a story to his baby sister to put her to bed. And she said, and he's getting it right. She said, for the first time, my son is able to count his own money when he earns money and tell me how much he has, and I'm not having to go behind him and count it. So the parents solidified this for me. The parents and the children made me realize how important this is and how important this journey is, and to see how kids are developing. God was like, this is what you're going to do. I mean, everything I thought I was going to do, because I was panicked, he shut all those doors where he opened the door for teaching. But I always loved kids. I started babysitting when I was 10 years old. And my mother and grandmother were nurses. Everybody thought I was going to follow in their footsteps. Nope, no thank you. That stuff did not interest me. But because of my struggles, I became a teacher. I realized that God, what I grew up feeling was a stigma, and what I grew up being told, don't let people know you have ADHD. Don't let them know you're dyslexic. Don't let them know, hide it, you need to be normal. I wanted to go in a classroom and I wanted to make a difference. I want to be a difference maker, basically. And I want to help kids who struggle. And that's one reason I got into special education when I did, was because so many people felt they were a burden, where those kids are not a burden. Those kids are important, and, they're beautiful, and God made them for a reason. And they need someone to care about them as much as they do about kids who are so-called normal, and be given the opportunity to learn. As long as God allows me to teach, that's what I want to do. The best part about CGI and what I loved is because you can take the same problem, like I said, and pose it to all your kids, and you can still make it about them, and you can change numbers. You can do the same problem type and have different different numbers for them to be able to work it at their ability level. You're able to work smarter and not harder, and use one way to get to all of them. And still, even in a self-contained classroom where it's kids with all disabilities, different types, you can still do share time and share with them. And you're still questioning. The questions go, you can start in pre-K. The questions start so young. And that's what CGI, how powerful it is, because it starts when they're so little, and it carries up into high school with these kids. And they're able to jump into algebra, and they're not scared of it. You, as an educator, yes, you give up so much time of your summer to do the training, but to know that you're bettering your students. And we have amazing teachers all over Arkansas who are willing to give up their personal time to be a better educator. And it's across the board. Of course, every state, you have some who are naysayers, but for the majority of our state, you have teachers who want to be a better educator for their students. And even seeing my own child, as I told you, he was an infant. He's now going into 8th grade, and his mathematical understanding, I made sure he had a teacher every year that was CGI trained. And his mathematical understanding blows my mind. He thinks in ways I can only dream of thinking. So anyways, those were just kind of what I wanted to share with you, just some of the experiences I've had and how powerful CGI has been to me personally, to my child, to my students, and how I've seen them grow and learn and continue to grow and learn. Stay on the journey and stay the course. It's well worth it.